Welcome to the Millennial Money Moves podcast. On this episode, Blake and I are diving into money myth number 3, dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging is often seen as a safe, disciplined investment strategy, and in reality, it's just a form of trying to time the stock market. And like most timing strategies, the odds of it working are not in your favor. We hope you enjoy this one. This content is purely educational and is not intended to be financial advice or financial planning. Please consult your professional financial advisor or tax professional to receive tailored advice to your personal situation. Babin Wealth Management is not responsible for action taken by listeners based on educational content provided. If you would like to receive personal financial advice, please reach out to Babin Wealth Management directly at babinwealth.com. Let's make moves. Welcome back to the Millennial Money Moves podcast, the podcast where we're breaking down the financial stuff that matters to your real life. Back at it. We went on kind of a little summer vacation there, Blake. I took 2 weeks off. You took a week off. Tell us about yours. Where'd you end up going?
Yeah, and I think our viewers can relate. Summer, and especially in our industry, tends to simmer down, right? But as the viewers should know, we're both in Arizona, but my roots are in Connecticut and family in Boston. So did a little trip back to New England to enjoy the humidity. So how about you, man? How was your 2 weeks?
Ours was good. So my fiance, Megan, she's from Cincinnati, Ohio area. So we went back there for a few days to see her family. And then we rented a car and drove from Cincinnati through Tennessee, North Carolina,
Nice.
South Carolina, and then made our way to Atlanta suburbs for our final stop. And yeah, man, got to experience some of that humidity too. I feel like every time we try and escape Phoenix in the summer, the heat just follows us. Like everywhere we went, they were like, it's way hotter than average.
Heat wave.
We
You're
were
like,
like,
no.
what the hell, man? Like, can we get some relief, please?
I think there's an episode to have, Sean, about debating between Arizona dry heat or New England summer or East Coast summer with humidity at 95%. So
there is. And the only way to do that is like report live from each location and just be like, how you feeling? How you doing?
hopefully I don't get New England because I'd be sweating on that live report. So
we'll miss doing the podcast. And
yeah, man, good to see you.
Sorry to the listeners for not giving you a heads up. We'd be taking a few weeks off there, but we're back at it again. And yeah, I am the host, Sean Babin. I forgot to say that at the jump. And my co-host, Blake Bandani. We are back in the driver's seat for the Millennial Money Moves podcast. We are going to be breaking down money myth number 3 for our listeners. If you're keeping track, we're on money myth number 3. And this is going to be an episode about dollar cost averaging. So any listeners going, what the heck is that? Dollar cost averaging is the idea of spreading out an investment over time. I use the example in my meetings that, you make some money off selling your house. Let's say it's $100,000 that you've got left over from the sale. You've agreed with your financial advisor or your wife that you want to invest this money. And so some advisors will sell you on this comfy, cushy idea that, hey, instead of investing it all today, to make you more comfortable, because the market can't go up, but it also can't go down. Let's spread this out. Maybe we do $10,000 a month for the next 10 months and kind of ease into the market. And that sounds great. That sounds very like the advisor gave you the hug. They're listening to you. Maybe you're concerned about investing or nervous about where the market's going, and you love that idea. That sounds a great way to just put our toes in the water and kind of slowly invest this $100,000 that we feel fortunate to have. Well, if you're looking at the data, which we'll get into, dollar cost averaging is a huge swing and a miss. It's more of a market timing element than it is just actually investing. And what I mean by market timing is the only way that dollar cost averaging works out in your favor is if the market goes down. Think about it. If you invest today and a month from now you're going to invest that additional $10,000 and the market's gone higher, well, you should have invested it last month. And then if the market goes higher again, well, again, you should have invested at the beginning. So the only way that dollar cost averaging works in your benefit is if the market goes down, and no one invests for the market to go down. We don't invest to lose. There are periods inevitably where it does. And if you invest it all in January and then in June, you're down 10%, you're going to feel like an idiot. But I'll show you the rationale behind it with the data and why it doesn't work out in your favor, in the sense of the percentage of times that the market's positive is so much greater than 50-50. So you shouldn't wait for tomorrow to invest. You should invest today. Have you kind of heard this concept, Blake, or kind of come across it in any of your maybe investing decisions or conversations with advisors?
Absolutely. And I think just 2 points before you get into the numbers. From a 1K perspective, you kind of just follow those rules anyway because it's a per payroll deduction. So you don't really have the luxury of trying to upload or upfront purchases when you put your money into the 401k plan because it's a per payroll deduction typically. The second point I had for you, and hate to put you on the spot, but you know I love to, is there an advantage or like why most advisors tend to push towards this concept of dollar cost averaging, or is it more of just an easier concept? Like, you know, why would an advisor tell you to do it that way versus putting all the 100,000 in your example right away? Like, is there any benefit to the advisor, or, you know, again, probably putting you on the spot there, but just curious from my eyes.
No, really good question. And I want to hit on the first one too that you started on with investing in your 401k per paycheck. That is the only form of dollar cost averaging that we endorse because it's the only way that you can do it. It's from a cash
Exactly.
flow standpoint, meaning I'm going to invest every time I get paid. It's not from a market timing standpoint where
Well
you're
said.
saying, I think the market's going to go down. So I'm going to wait till next week to invest. It's just on repeat. Every 2 weeks, you're investing. And that is a beautiful way to do it. I think from an advisor's perspective, if your client is hesitant to invest, this is like a way to make them more comfortable. It's like I said, they might not know the data behind it either. It's a client comes to you with 100 grand, let's even call it $1,000,000, and they're wishy-washy or they're not certain or they're scared of the market or they have a story of their family losing money, trading stocks, whatever the case may be, it's emotional to them. But the advisor will go, you know, instead of losing this prospect, how about we do this? How about we just do 100 grand now? Then we'll do 200 grand in 6 months and then 300 grand in 6 months until that whole million is invested. Cause that's a win for the advisor, meaning that client's like, okay, I like that strategy. That sounds good. And now that's a new client or a prospect, whatever the case might be. And now they're working with them versus
Fair
scaring them
enough.
away and being like, no, I'm going to invest your million today. If you disagree with me, or then go somewhere else, like kick rocks kind of thing.
And hearing you explain it, I guess from a consumer lens, they're probably a little bit hesitant if it's a newer relationship to just give an advisor $1 million. Hey, I'd rather give you 100,000, see how that does. Not necessarily that ties to dollar cost averaging, but maybe there's a little bit of a psyche concept to that point, you know?
There definitely is like a testing element from
For
prospects
sure.
and that's super hard because that's just all luck. Like, let's say you've got 500,000 with another advisor and it's not really working out. You're interviewing somebody else and you come across me and you like me and you want to work with me and you say, well, Sean, let's start with 100 and we'll see how that does. I have zero control over what the next 6 months bring. And I have no idea or control over what your other advisor is invested in. So let's say that you have all your money in one area of the market with your other advisor, and I do this diversified portfolio that I believe in, and that area of the market that your advisor in that your other advisor is in just is amazing over this next 6 months, and I do half of what that does in performance wise. That one does 20%, I do 10.
Sure.
You're like, you're an idiot, Sean. I'm going to stick with my guy. He made me 20%. Okay, the next year he's down 30 and I'm down 10. Who really wins? Like,
Where's the net?
it's just
Right?
guesswork. It's all about like
Yeah.
that's just purely testing the waters with no real there's nothing other than just a luck element to that whole thing. So that's the same with dollar cost averaging. It's a pure luck element. If you slowly invest and the market goes down and you get to buy more shares at lower prices, then that's great.
Totally.
That was a guess that you made at that time and it worked out in your favor.
Well said. Just a little nugget on the 401k side. I have had clients where they're like, well, I prefer to just put the limit of 23,500 in 2025 in their first couple payrolls. And as long as your HR team and payroll can handle that, it's
Yeah, and your
absolutely enough.
income.
And your income. But what the nugget is if your company is offering a match, sometimes they only match on a per payroll basis. So if you front
Yeah.
load that 23,500 in the first 3 months, you'll get matched whatever the company offers on the payroll perspective. But what about the other 9 months where you don't get to deduct because you've hit the limits? Well, now you're missing on employer match as well. So that's where it could ding you as well if you're trying to front load the market and try to time the market, whereas you just put the full amount across the full year.
How do you know that your company does that or not? Because I've ran into that with clients and it's crappy because some companies do it, some companies don't. So it's like it's not a overarching, like this is the law. So how do you know?
Yeah, it's honestly trial and error. Yeah, if you ever try to do it for 1 year and then you come back and say, well, my total match dollars was only 4% of those 3 paychecks, not my annual salary. Hey, sorry, we do a per payroll match. Make sure you change it for the next year. There are notices that should go out, but a lot of times the notices don't have to include if they're doing it per payroll. So it's a tough one. I think it's a rare case, but
Okay.
it's trial and error, you know?
So it's not like ask your HR person, or do you have to like look in the plan documents?
Yeah, I would say if you're entertaining the idea of, well, I still kind of like this idea. Sean made a great point. Maybe I just put the 23,000 in early. Just reach out to your HR team or your benefits team and say, hey, if I do this, am I going to miss out on any potential match? And they should
Because
answer
yeah,
that
I'll
question.
have clients who will like get aggressive, do like 15-20% in the first
Yep.
6 months and max it out.
Yep.
And then a couple people, we've noticed that, and it's, you know, before I even knew it was a thing. And then you go, shoot, like we need to smooth this out over the entire year
Yep.
versus getting all, you know, aggressive
Up
about it
front.
in the first 6 months.
And you could lose out. I mean, it's not going to be insane amounts because it's still usually typically a 4 to 5% match, but it's still probably a couple $1,000 if you're in that high earning bracket. So you got to be cautious of that.
Yeah, no, like you said, if you only got 4% on, you know, 6 months of salary versus 12 months of salary,
Bingo. Big difference.
and you're making good money, like that's a huge difference.
You got it. But so show us the number, Sean. I'm curious to see it come to life here as far as putting in the 100,000 or putting it over 10 months.
Yeah, let's bring this up. All right, so the whole notion is like on a month to month, you know, week to week, year to year, what's the batting average of the stock market? Like what has it done? Like how much is it positive or negative? And is it better to put my money in today or wait? And that's really all the
Right.
dollar cost averaging is. That's what it boils down to. Should I invest that 100K today that I made off the sale of my home, or should we slowly dip this into the market? So what I've pulled up for the listeners out there is a bar graph that shows the total percent positive returns for the S&P 500 going from 1928 to 2022. And percent positive in, you know, every day. So in one day, every single day going back to 1928, how many times was it positive versus negative? And the percent positive is 53%. And then you stretch that out from 1 day to 10 days to 1 year to 5 years to 10 years to 20 years. And what I love about this data set, Blake, which might be hard to wrap your head around, but it's any 1 year period. So what that means is it's not just January 1st to December 31st of 1928. Well, it's January 1st to December 31st. Then it's January 2nd to January 1st of, like, they spin the data at any 1 year increment of any day of any year. And that's how you get these data sets. So what it's showing you, again, listeners out there who can't see it, is just how robustly positive the S&P 500's percent positive is, starting from 1 day. So at any 1 day, the S&P 500 is positive 53% of the time. That makes sense to me. It's just a coin flip. Every morning you wake up, your account could be up or down. Those are your two options. It's just like playing roulette. You black or red. What are we doing? And no one would do this if that stayed consistent from 1 day to 1 year to 5 years to 20 years. If it was always a 50-50 chance, we would just be going to the casino having the same kind of outcome. But what you see starts happening, Blake, is look at the 1 day versus the 1 year. We go from 53% positive in any given 1 day to 75% positive in any given 1 year. So right there shows me that those odds that are in your favor is why would you invest any differently? Like the line that I use for people is the best day to invest was yesterday. Today is the second best day.
Love it.
And so going forward, we go from 1 year to 5 year. 5 years, the percent positive over any 5-year period from 1928 to 2022 is 89%. And then you get to 10 years, it's 94%, 20 years, 100%, 30 years, 100%. And this graph right here is exactly why I have a job and why I believe everyone should do this and invest your money. Let this compounding work for you, because it's not this big risk that I think a lot of people think it is. Like I said, if these numbers were in the 50s and 60s from 1 day to 30 years, no one would do this. It would just be way too volatile. But when you see literal 100% positive over any 20-year time frame, That's pretty incredible.
It is. Um, I guess what I think it would be an interesting concept is if we could do like a fake test, right? All right, this person put 100,000 in on July 23rd. This other person put in 10,000 and then 10,000 every month after until they hit 100,000. Do you think the returns would vary?
Yeah, it's all market timing at that point.
Exactly.
So let's say someone invested 100 grand at the top in '07, and we get the great financial crisis, and someone only invested 10 grand, and then they got to slowly invest 10 grand as that market went down. Well, they'd be a lot better off than the person who invested 100 grand
because it
at the
was
top.
dipping, right?
But then the inverse is, let's say
That
someone
kills
who
you.
got 100
Yeah.
grand at at the beginning of '09,
Well said.
and they put it all in, versus someone who spread that out over a 10-year or a 1-year period, a 2-year period. Well, their return would be less than the person that. So
Fair enough.
it's all about sitting here today. We have no idea what the future brings with the stock market. There's no way to know the future, but we can look at the past and we can look at numbers like I'm showing you here. And so that's how I have to get comfortable showing my clients why we invested all today, is because look at this money you've told me you don't need for the next 5 to 10 years. Well, 89% of the time and 94% of the time, that money makes money. That's why we're going to put it all in today and just wash our hands and be done and let this thing start working for you. If you're telling me you need this money in a year, maybe we're not investing it. Maybe we're buying CDs or something. That's a little too risky. But that 5 to 10-year window, that's why we put it all in today. And, everyone gets hesitant about the current state of the economy. I don't like Trump. I like Trump. I don't like Biden. Whatever. It's political. People get emotional and they always think they know what's coming on the horizon. And they'll come up with any excuse not to invest, when literally the best time that was to invest was the prior day. So that's the mental and emotional battle that me as a financial advisor have to get you comfortable with. And I just love telling stories with data because it removes like, what does Sean think? And it just purely shows black and white. And here's why we're going to do what we're going to do today. It's because of this. And I hope I can get you comfortable with these numbers and understanding why we're doing it now versus, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Client, let's do what you want to do. Let's stretch it out. Because honestly, it could work and it could not. And if they don't listen to me and they do it their way and it works out, well, then I'm an idiot. And if they do it my way and it does work and it doesn't work out, then again, I'm an idiot. So that's always going to happen, but you have to get them comfortable with understanding these numbers and why we do what we do in that sense.
Well said. I think the image, hopefully the viewers will go onto YouTube to look at it, but it speaks for itself, right? What's the old saying? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So
I love that, man. So yeah, I think, final arguments here is like, if you're considering making a large investment, definitely normal to kind of feel hesitant about that. On our end, we really emphasize like building that well-diversified portfolio that's kind of aligned with what you're trying to do with that money. Do you have a 5-year time horizon or is it 20 years? And we're going to invest that differently. And that again goes into kind of your risk tolerance and what that money's trying to capture. And so with kind of the right allocation in place, there really shouldn't be any difference with investing it all today versus, stretching it out through time. But as you can see from the data, investing it in day one works out for you way more than it does kind of stretching that out over a course of 6 months, year, 2 years, however you define that.
absolutely. And I think just going through this and talking it through with you, I think maybe there's an aspect of dollar cost averaging, feeling a little bit more secure. But what's secure? There's nothing secure when you invest, right? So is that why you're going with the dollar cost averaging method?
Exactly. And that's the myth of it. The myth makes you, dollar cost averaging sounds like a smart investing decision. And
That's what I was
why
trying to
it's,
say.
in my
Thank
opinion,
you.
a myth, because you pull out these numbers
Yeah.
and you realize that slowly investing doesn't work out for you long term. It's you should have invested it at that time. And so that's the myth of it, is it seems smart. It seems like rational. Like, why would we jump into this head first? First, let's slowly dip our toes in, then goes knees, waist, shoulders, head. And I think you rationalize it that way for yourself. But then when you look back, because it's just showing you more times than not, you will look back and say, shoot, I wish I would have invested it all at day one versus doing this slowly. But inevitably, there will always be times where you're going to invest and then it's going to go down and you're going to feel stupid, but just give it some time. It'll come back up. When the tariff stuff was going on earlier this year, I was telling you guys about, clients that came on board, mid-March, late March, early April, and they bring over their money and they're now my client, and then boom, they're down 18% the next week. That's tough and that's emotional. And they're like, I don't think they're mad at me, but those are moments where they're just like, damn it, like I should have waited a couple weeks. But it's all hindsight. You don't get to know that's coming.
You don't.
And then now look at, we're well past that. Every stock market's at all-time highs. People's accounts should be at their highest level that they've ever been. You should be tapping high watermarks out there right now. If you're not, come talk to me, because that's where the market's at. But if you had made the mistake in that moment, which dollar cost averaging might have been, then you've left money on the table.
I just got to say, Sean, I mean, always appreciate the free game, man. It's awesome. But yeah, I think I might have to keep this line in the back of my head moving forward: is the best time to invest was yesterday. The second was today. I think that was awesome.
Good, man. I'm glad you liked it. Good to see you again, man. Glad
always.
we're back, and
more to come.
We'll be back at it again next week. We promise. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Have a good week.
Bye.